The first thing I felt when I woke wasn't the silk sheets beneath my hands, or the faint scent of rose oil in the air. It was pain. A sharp, burning ache pulsed at the base of my neck, like someone had branded fire directly into my skin. I gasped, clutching at the spot, only to hiss when my fingers brushed raised ridges. My breath came fast, shallow, unsteady. This wasn't my body. My vision swam, but the canopy above me was clear enough. White silk embroidered with golden threads. This wasn't my dorm room. The sheets weren't polyester from a discount store. They were velvet, thick and impossibly soft, smelling faintly of lavender. I lurched upright, heart hammering, and staggered out of the bed. The floor was marble, cool against my bare feet. Across the chamber, a gilt-framed mirror reflected back a stranger's face. I froze. The young man staring at me was beautiful. Too beautiful. Silver-white hair fell in soft waves over his forehead, catching the morning light. His skin was pale, smooth as porcelain, and his eyes, icy blue, sharp yet delicate, blinked back at me in disbelief. His lips, finely shaped and faintly pink, parted at the same time mine did. "No," I whispered. "This can't be real." But it was. Because I knew this face. I'd seen it 100 times in fan art, read it in detailed prose until the image was burned into my memory. Lysander Darklight. The fragile Omega noble, who was the main character of the hero's chosen mate. And I was Eli, a college nobody who had fallen asleep rereading that very novel last night. Which meant I had transmigrated. No, no, no. My voice trembled as I gripped the edge of a dresser to keep from collapsing. This isn't happening. It got worse. The burn in my neck flared again. Swallowing hard, I pulled the loose nightshirt down from my collarbone and turned toward the mirror. There, glowing faintly against my skin, was a sigil. Golden, intricate, pulsing like a heartbeat. I staggered back a step, knees weak with both shock and relief. That mark was familiar. It was the bond seal of Crown Prince Adrian, the golden hero. The man destined to save the kingdom and, in the story, to claim Lysander as his one true mate. So maybe this wasn't too bad. I'd landed in the body of the main character. If I just stayed quiet, followed the script, I could live a comfortable life at the hero's side. But then a second burn flared, hotter, sharper, on the other side of my neck. No. I raised trembling fingers, pulled the collar further aside and stared. This mark was different. Crimson, curling like fire and smoke, thrumming with a darker, heavier pulse. I choked on my breath. That mark didn't belong to the hero. It belonged to Damien Valen, the villain duke. The man destined to murder thousands, shatter the kingdom, and die at Adrian's sword. And somehow, impossibly, both marks, hero and villain, light and darkness, were etched into my skin. "This isn't in the novel," I whispered hoarsely. "This isn't supposed to happen." The chamber doors slammed open. I jumped, whipping toward the sound. A tall figure stormed in, golden hair catching the sunlight like a halo. His amber eyes locked onto me instantly, burning with something that made the air feel thick and heavy. Crown Prince Adrian, the hero himself. Every step he took radiated authority, strength, and unmistakable alpha dominance. I could feel it pressing against me, a weight that sent my Omega instincts into a trembling frenzy. My knees nearly buckled under the force of his presence. "Lysander," he breathed, and in 2 long strides he was in front of me. His hands, strong, calloused, warm, cupped my face, tilting it up so I couldn't look away. The golden mark on my neck blazed, answering him. My body trembled, a rush of instinctive need and safety flooding through me. I should have hated it, but my Omega nature leaned helplessly into the pull. "You're mine," Adrian growled softly, voice thick with possessiveness. "Do you hear me? Mine. No one will ever take you from me." I opened my mouth to answer, to lie, to reassure him, but another sound cut through the chamber, a slow clap, echoing mockingly against marble walls. My blood ran cold. From the doorway, another man entered, his steps unhurried, his smile sharp. Dark hair framed a pale, angular face. Crimson eyes glowed like embers, and his presence was different from Adrian's, colder, quieter, but no less suffocating. If Adrian's aura was the blazing sun, Damien's was the endless night. "The villain duke." "Touching," Damien drawled, his voice like velvet soaked in poison. "The hero and his precious mate, united at last. Such a shame your little fantasy isn't quite so exclusive." His gaze slid deliberately to my neck, to the twin marks glowing faintly against pale skin. The crimson sigil throbbed in response, and a shiver raced down my spine. Adrian stiffened, his grip on me tightening possessively. "You dare to step foot here," he snarled, fury crackling in every word. "I more than dare," Damien murmured, stepping closer. His eyes never left me. "I claim what is mine. Or do you think marks appear without consent, Prince?" I trembled, clutching Adrian's sleeve, torn between the heat of his bond and the dark thrum of Damien's. Both marks pulsed violently, my body caught between light and shadow. Adrian's thumb brushed my cheek, desperate. "Ignore him, Lysander. He's nothing. His taint will fade. I'll erase it myself if I must." Damien chuckled, low and dangerous. "Erase me? Bonds do not vanish, little prince. Not when he answers me even now." And then, as if to prove his words, my body betrayed me. The crimson mark seared hot, and a soft, helpless whimper slipped from my throat. Adrian's entire body went rigid, fury and panic blazing in his eyes. Damien only smiled wider, cruel satisfaction gleaming as he took another step closer. "See," he whispered. "He feels me. He belongs to me too." The golden mark blazed in response, trying to smother the crimson fire. The two forces collided inside me, tearing me apart, flooding me with heat and confusion until I could barely stand. My breath came in sharp, desperate gasps, my omega instincts screaming in two directions at once. I don't." My voice broke, weak and trembling. "I don't understand." Adrian bent his forehead to mine, voice raw. "You don't need to. Just hold on to me. I'll protect you." Damien's shadow loomed closer, his words soft and merciless. "No, little one. You don't need protection. You need to accept the truth. You are ours." The pressure of their auras crashed over me, golden heat and crimson fire battling for dominance. My body ached, marks blazing so brightly I thought my skin would split. And for the first time since waking in this cursed body, I realized the truth. I wasn't just the hero's mate anymore. I was bound to the villain as well, and neither of them would ever let me go. When I woke again, the first thing I noticed was warmth. Not the fiery burn of my twin marks, but a gentler, steady heat, like sunlight spilling across my skin. The second thing I noticed was the weight around my hand. I cracked my eyes open. Beside the bed, slumped in a carved chair of dark wood and gold trim, sat Crown Prince Adrian. His long golden hair was slightly mussed, falling loose from the tie at his nape. His head rested against his fist, amber eyes half shut, as though he hadn't truly slept at all. But his other hand, warm, strong, was wrapped firmly around mine, holding on even in restless slumber. My throat went dry. For a moment, I simply stared at him. At the way the morning sun broke across his sharp cheekbones, at the faint crease of exhaustion between his brows, at the sheer presence of him, radiant, powerful, unshakably certain even when dozing. This was the hero, the man the world revered. The man who, in the story, was destined to bind Lysander as his chosen Omega mate. And he was holding on to me, as though letting go would mean disaster. The golden mark at my neck pulsed faintly in answer to him, and an involuntary sigh escaped me. Adrian stirred at the sound. His lashes flicked open, and in an instant those amber eyes sharpened. "Lysander." His voice was low, hoarse from disuse, but urgent. I swallowed. "Good morning." In the blink of an eye, he was leaning forward, his grip tightening. His aura, warm and overwhelming, washed over me like a wave, pressing against every nerve until my omega instincts trembled with submission. "You frightened me," he murmured, thumb brushing across the back of my hand. "You collapsed. Your body couldn't handle the resonance of my mark." His eyes darkened, his jaw tightening. "That stain, his mark, forced itself upon you, Damien." The crimson sigil burned faintly even now, as though in mockery. Adrian noticed the flicker of discomfort on my face, and his expression grew fierce. "Don't look at it. Don't think of it. It is nothing but corruption, and I will find a way to remove it. You belong to me." The words should have made me bristle. Instead, my omega body shivered, my mark answering with a faint glow, a soothing hum beneath my skin. The pull toward him was undeniable, warmth and security that wrapped around me like a cocoon. But another thrum pulsed lower, darker, in defiance. Damien's crimson sigil, alive beneath my skin. I forced myself to breathe, to focus. "Adrian," my voice cracked. "What happens if there are two marks?" His hand stilled. For a heartbeat, he said nothing. Then he rose slowly, towering over me, the full force of his aura pressing down until I could hardly breathe. His fingers brushed my jaw, tilting my head back, so I couldn't look away. "There are no two marks," he said flatly, dominance thick in every syllable. "There is my mark. Mine alone. Do you understand?" The bond thrummed, golden light spreading warmth through my veins. My lips parted on a shaky breath. "Why, yes. Satisfied, Adrian's expression softened again. He sat carefully at the edge of the bed, one arm slipping behind me to ease me upright. His movements gentled, protective, though the firm weight of his hold never relented. "Listen to me," he said more softly now, eyes burning into mine. "An Omega's bond is sacred. It is not a chain, not merely instinct. It is destiny. My blood, my soul, my power, all tied to you. That villain's intrusion is a wound upon what should be pure. But I will not allow it to taint you." His words carried conviction so fierce I almost believed them. Almost. But the other mark pulsed faintly, reminding me of its presence. Adrian must have sensed my hesitation, because suddenly his arm around me tightened, pulling me flush against his chest. My breath caught as the scent of him enveloped me. Clean sunlight, steel, and faint smoke. My instincts melted, muscles going slack despite my mind's protests. "You feel it, don't you?" His voice was low against my ear, dangerously close. "The bond answering. Your body knows the truth, even if your thoughts resist." My heart hammered wildly. Every nerve in my body screamed at the proximity, at the way the golden mark flared so hot I could almost hear it. My fingers curled helplessly in the fabric of his tunic. His thumb traced my lower lip. My breath stuttered. For one suspended moment, the world narrowed to just the heat of his body, the strength of his hold, the inevitability of his mark pulling at mine. His gaze dropped to my mouth, and my Omega instincts keened with need, my entire body betraying me. If he leaned in just an inch closer, the air shifted. Cold, silent, suffocating. My mark seared crimson. Adrian stiffened, his aura spiking like a blade. His head snapped toward the shadowed corner of the chamber, lips curling in a snarl. "Show yourself." My breath caught. At first I saw nothing, only darkness pooling deeper than it should. But then, from within it, a low chuckle spilled forth. "Such fervor, little prince," a velvet voice drawled. "Clinging to what you believe is yours. Damien." My skin prickled. The crimson sigil pulsed violently in recognition, and my body shivered against my will. Adrian surged to his feet, shielding me behind him, fury radiating in palpable waves. "You dare infiltrate my chambers?" The shadows thickened, curling like smoke, until Damien's form materialized just within them. Tall, elegant, crimson eyes glowing faintly. He didn't step fully into the light, but his smirk was clear, sharp enough to cut. "Why not?" Damien purred, his gaze sliding to me, pinning me where I trembled behind Adrian's shoulder. "My bond calls to him as surely as yours does. Perhaps more strongly." "Lies," Adrian spat, aura flaring like a storm. "Truth," Damien corrected lazily. His eyes lingered on me, and my traitorous mark seared hot, my Omega instincts responding with a rush of weakness that made me grip Adrian's sleeve to stay upright. Adrian felt it. His whole body tensed. Damien chuckled darkly, satisfaction dripping from every note. "See," he answers me. "You can't deny it, little prince." Adrian half turned, his hand brushing mine in a silent plea. "Don't listen to him," he murmured fiercely. "He has no claim. He never will." But Damien's voice slid around his, insidious and sure. "He already does." The golden and crimson marks blazed at once, colliding within me. Heat and shadow warred in my veins, pulling me two directions at once until my knees buckled. I gasped, clutching my head, the world spinning. "Stop, please." My voice cracked under the pressure, tears pricking my eyes. Adrian dropped instantly to his knees, gathering me into his arms, fury and desperation warring in his gaze. "You're hurting him," he snarled at Damien. "Leave, before I end you here and now." Damien's form began to recede, shadows curling around him once more. But his eyes never left mine. "You can cling to your illusions, little Omega," he murmured, his voice echoing like a promise. "But your body knows the truth. You are mine, just as much as his." And then he was gone, leaving only a whisper of cold and the burning throb of my crimson mark. Adrian's arms tightened around me, his aura flaring in desperate protectiveness. "Don't believe him," he breathed against my hair. "You are mine. You'll always be mine." But even as my body sagged against him, trembling and weak, I couldn't silence the truth pulsing beneath my skin. I bore both marks, and neither would let me go. The palace halls had never felt so heavy. Adrian had hardly let me out of his sight since the confrontation. He shadowed me everywhere, his hand a constant presence on my wrist or shoulder, as though I might vanish if he looked away. His warmth, his conviction, his dominance, part of me wanted to lean into it. Another part wanted to claw free and breathe. Because every time his golden mark pulsed comfort, the crimson one answered, restless and sharp. That night, when Adrian finally left to attend council, I collapsed against the window, dragging in greedy gulps of cool air. The moon hung high, silver light spilling across the gardens below. My body felt split in two, my instincts gnawing at themselves. And then the shadows shifted. It began as a ripple in the farthest corner of the chamber, where moonlight didn't reach. The air cooled. My crimson mark seared awake. I froze, my pulse thundering. Damien. A chuckle drifted through the dark, smooth as velvet. You speak my name so sweetly, little one. I almost believe you missed me. My hands clenched the window frame. You shouldn't be here. Adrian. Isn't. The shadows slid forward, coalescing into his tall frame. He stepped into the moonlight, and my breath caught. Dark hair fell artfully across his brow, catching faint silver glints. His crimson eyes burned with amusement, yet softened when they landed on me. Clad in midnight black, he seemed carved from the night itself, dangerous and exquisite. You look pale, Damien said, his tone lilting, mock concern laced with something deeper. He smothers you, doesn't he? That golden prince. Wrapping chains in silk and calling them protection. I bristled, even as my body shivered in response to the sound of his voice. He's keeping me safe from you. Safe? Damien's smile curved, dangerous and soft. He moved closer with unhurried grace, every step making my mark burn hotter. Do you feel safe, little one? Or do you feel trapped? My lips parted, but no words came. Damien stopped just short of touching me, his presence washing over me like cool mist compared to Adrian's suffocating fire. He didn't crowd me, yet my Omega instincts still keened, the crimson mark pulling me toward him. You answer me, he murmured, tilting his head. Your body knows the truth, even if your mind clings to his promises. Heat surged down my spine, betrayal written in the way my skin prickled under his gaze. I pressed back against the window, trying to escape the ache. I didn't choose this. His eyes gleamed. Nor did I. But here we are. Slowly, deliberately, Damien raised a hand. His fingers hovered just beside my jaw, not touching, waiting. The restraint itself was intoxicating, so unlike Adrian's relentless grip. May I? He asked softly. The simple courtesy unraveled me more than force ever could. Against my better judgment, I gave the faintest nod. His fingertips brushed my jaw. A shudder tore through me, crimson fire blazing at his touch. My knees weakened, my breath catching. There it is, Damien whispered, leaning closer but not claiming. The bond answering. Not chains, not cages. A mirror to your soul. You are not his alone. My eyes squeezed shut. You'll ruin me. He chuckled low, the sound curling heat into my stomach. No, little one. I'll set you free. The words tangled inside me, dangerous and tempting. Adrian's protection felt like sunlight, so bright it blinded. Damien's promise was night, cool, endless, offering space to breathe. Tell me, he coaxed, voice a silken thread. When he holds you so tightly, do you not wish for air? When he claims you as his alone, does your other mark not scream in defiance? Damien saw it. His expression softened. Not cruel, not mocking, but something else entirely. For a heartbeat, the mask slipped. You think me only a villain, he said, his voice lower now, the silk unraveling into something raw. That is the part I've been given, isn't it? The shadow to his light. The snake at the garden's edge. His fingers, still resting lightly on my jaw, trembled. Not from hesitation, I realized, but from something far deeper, fear. He withdrew suddenly, curling his hand into a fist at his side. The air between us throbbed with the mark's pull, but for the first time, I saw more than seduction in his crimson gaze. I saw weariness. Loneliness. Do you know what it is to be hated before you've spoken a word? Damien murmured, turning his face slightly away. To be cast in the role of villain, born with power no one wanted, cursed with a mark that only promised ruin? They decided I was the monster before I ever chose to be one. My chest tightened. The sharp ache of my crimson mark mirrored the sorrow in his voice. Against my will, I stepped closer. You, my voice faltered. You don't have to be what they say. His head snapped back toward me, and for once his smirk faltered. Don't I? He laughed, brittle and short. This world is a cage, little one. Adrian gilds his bars with sunlight. I drape mine in shadow, but cages they remain. His words sank into me like stones. Because hadn't I felt the same, trapped by the story I'd been thrown into? Supposed to marry the hero, bound to a fate I never chose. Maybe. My throat tightened. Maybe that's why the mark chose me too. Something flickered in Damien's eyes. Hope, or maybe hunger. His voice dropped to a whisper. Careful, little one. Speak like that, and I'll believe you're mine already. My pulse thundered. I'm not. He smiled again, softer this time. Not mocking, not cold, just tired. No, not yet. Slowly, he lifted his hand again, but this time when his fingertips brushed my neck, it wasn't only heat that flooded me. It was grief, centuries deep, like standing at the edge of a void. My knees weakened, my body trembling with the force of it. You feel it too, Damien murmured, leaning close enough for his breath to ghost my ear. Not just the fire. The sorrow. The loneliness that answers mine. My throat tightened. I wanted to deny it, but the crimson mark burned truth against my skin. For a fleeting second, his forehead pressed against mine. Not claiming. Not conquering. Just resting. His breath came uneven, as though holding the weight of 1,000 unspoken things. You shouldn't show me this side of you, I whispered, my own voice shaking. It'll only make it harder to walk away. Good. His laugh was soft, almost broken. Let it be hard. The moment stretched, fragile and electric. Then, as if remembering himself, Damien pulled back, the mask of the villain sliding back into place. His smirk returned, sharp as ever, but I had seen the cracks. You belong to no one, he said, though his voice betrayed a rough edge now. Not to him. Not even to me. But I will have you, when you choose me freely. He tilted my chin, crimson eyes searing into mine. And you will choose. Because deep down, you already know I'm the only one who sees you. The mark blazed. My body ached with the pull, torn between fire and shadow. I couldn't breathe. Before I could speak, Damien's form blurred into smoke, shadows curling away until the room was empty once more. Only the echo of his words lingered, heavy as chains, soft as silk. I will not stop until you come to me willingly. My knees buckled, and I clutched the window frame to keep from collapsing. Both marks burned in my skin. The sun and the night, the hero and the villain, and I was caught in the center, torn in two. And yet, for the first time, I wondered if maybe I didn't want to choose at all. The chamber felt colder after Damien vanished, though the heat of his presence clung to my skin. My pulse hadn't slowed. My mark still throbbed, crimson fire smoldering beneath it, echoing his vow. I will not stop until you come to me willingly. I pressed a trembling hand against the burning skin at my throat. Why? Why did I feel this way? The mark pulsed not only with desire, but with sorrow, like a wound I hadn't known I carried until Damien touched it. And worse, I had seen him. Not the villain everyone whispered of, not the serpent coiled in shadow, but a man scarred by the role forced upon him. A man who, for one breathless moment, leaned against me like I was the only tether keeping him from unraveling. The thought made my stomach twist. Because if I pitied him, if I understood him, it would only make the crimson bond harder to deny. The latch at the chamber door clicked. My body went rigid. Golden light flared across my skin before I even saw him, my other mark responding with fierce urgency. Eli. Adrian stood in the doorway, tall and sharp, his presence filling the room like the sun breaking through storm clouds. His amber eyes narrowed, scanning me in an instant. His jaw tightened. You're pale, he said, striding forward. What happened? I stumbled back a step, guilt clawing at me. The scent of his dominance pressed close, warm and suffocating, demanding honesty. My crimson mark flared in protest, the two bonds clashing violently. Nothing, I whispered. Too fast. Too brittle. Adrian stopped. His gaze hardened, reading me as though I were an open book. His hand reached for my cheek, but paused just shy of touching. He was here. His voice was low, dangerous. Wasn't he? My throat closed. The silence between us was answer enough. Golden fire surged in his eyes, his mark pulsing so strongly against mine, I swayed on my feet. He caught me instantly, his arm firm around my waist. I told you, Adrian murmured, his voice rough with fury and fear. I won't let him take you from me. Not now. Not ever. His grip was protective, but it felt like a shackle, golden heat scorching against crimson fire. Both marks screamed, pulling me in opposite directions until my body trembled from the strain. Adrian, my voice broke. I can't. His hand cupped the back of my neck, steady but unyielding. You don't need to. You're mine. That's all you have to remember. But Damien's words coiled like smoke in my ear. Not chains, not cages. A mirror to your soul. Tears pricked my eyes. Did Adrian see me, truly me, or just the role fate had given me? Would he still claim me, if I were not the destined Omega meant for his hand? The marks clashed harder, heat and shadow colliding, tearing me open from the inside. Adrian's hold tightened. Don't look at me like that, he whispered, almost pained. Don't doubt me. But I did. Not his devotion, but whether his devotion was to me or to destiny. I bit my lip, struggling against the roar of both bonds. Adrian, what if I don't want to choose? The question slipped out before I could stop it. His eyes widened, amber fire flaring. For a moment, silence crushed the air between us. Then, slowly, his hand fell from my neck. What did you say? I opened my mouth, but no words came. The truth was tangled in my throat, caught between two marks that would never let me go. And in the silence, Damien's laugh echoed faintly in my memory, velvet and broken, promising freedom even in shadow. You will choose. Because deep down, you already know I'm the only one who sees you. My chest ached. Both bonds burned. I was already unraveling. The palace glittered that night, every hall dripping with chandeliers and gilded arches. The annual gala of masks, when nobles flaunted their wealth and schemes behind painted disguises, was supposed to be a celebration of peace. For me, it was a noose tightening around my neck. Adrian hadn't left my side since Damien's intrusion days ago. His golden mark throbbed with constant vigilance, as though daring the crimson bond to flare again. Tonight, he was dressed in a deep gold mask and tailored suit that made him look less like a man and more like the blazing hero this world worshipped. And me? I was his trophy. Silk brushed my skin, the mark at my neck burning under layers of fabric. Every noble who glanced my way saw not Eli, but the Omega destined to wed their beloved hero. You'll be fine, Adrian murmured as we descended the staircase into the grand hall. His hand rested firmly on my back, guiding me forward. They'll see you as mine, as it was always meant to be. I swallowed hard, forcing a smile. My heart hammered, not just from nerves but from the faint, traitorous hum of crimson heat under my skin. Damien's absence gnawed at me, his last words echoing still. Not chains. Not cages. A mirror to your soul. The music swelled, violins and harps blending into a dizzying waltz. Couples twirled across the polished floor, laughter mingling with the clink of crystal glasses. Masks glittered like stars beneath chandeliers. But all eyes snapped to us when Adrian led me to the center. My lords, my ladies, Adrian said smoothly, his voice carrying over the music. He drew me closer, his hand firm at my waist. Tonight, I stand with what fate has given me. My mate, my future, my light. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Nobles murmured behind feathered masks, eyes gleaming with speculation. The mark at my neck glowed faintly under the hall's golden light, proof undeniable. I wanted to sink into the floor. Then the air shifted. Cold seeped into the room, dimming the chandeliers. Shadows pooled where they shouldn't. A chill ran down my spine even before I saw him. Damien. He stepped from the edges of the hall, as though the night itself obeyed him. No mask, no disguise. His crimson eyes burned, fixed on me, his smile slow and deliberate. The crowd parted in whispers, fear and fascination tangling like smoke. Adrian, Damien drawled, his tone dripping with mockery. Still clinging to destiny, like a child to his mother's skirts. Adrian's jaw tightened, golden fire flashing in his gaze. You dare show your face here? I dare claim what's mine. Damien's eyes flicked to me. My mark ignited instantly, crimson heat spreading across my skin. I gasped, clutching my throat, the bond roaring awake under his gaze. The hall erupted in murmurs. 2 marks. Impossible. Abomination. Adrian pulled me closer, shielding me with his body. Stay behind me. But Damien only smirked, stepping further into the light. You hide him, yet his body betrays you. Look, nobles of the court, see how the crimson bond sings to him. He is not yours alone. Gasps. Outrage. Masked faces turned toward me, their whispers sharp as daggers. An Omega, with 2 marks. Unheard of. Unacceptable. My body trembled, every instinct screaming. The golden and crimson marks pulsed violently, clashing against each other until tears pricked my eyes. I couldn't hide it, not here, not in front of everyone. Damien's smile softened, just barely, his eyes never leaving mine. Do you feel it, little one? Even now. The truth no mask can cover. Adrian's arm tightened around me, his voice a growl. He doesn't belong to you. The nobles surged closer, their whispers swelling into demands. This is a scandal. An Omega cannot serve 2 masters. He must choose. The words slammed into me, each one heavier than the last. Choose. 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 Adrian's hold burned like sunlight, unyielding and fierce. Damien's gaze pulled like gravity, shadows whispering promises of freedom. Both marks seared, demanding undeniable. And I couldn't breathe. The nobles pressed in, their voices sharpening, their eyes gleaming with hunger for blood and scandal. "Choose now," one councilman barked, stepping forward. "Declare your mate Omega, or face disgrace before the court." My lips parted, but no words came. The marks screamed, my body torn between fire and shadow, sunlight and night. I staggered, caught between them, both Adrian and Damien reaching for me at once. The hall spun, my vision blurring as heat and cold warred under my skin. And then, everything went silent. Every noble leaned closer, breathless, waiting for the word that would decide my fate. But all I could think was this. What if I didn't want to choose at all? The grand hall had never been so loud. Whispers swelled into a storm, masks glinting as nobles pressed forward, their voices slicing through the music that had long since stilled. Their judgment weighed heavy, crushing, suffocating. 2 marks, it's a disgrace. He must choose. An Omega cannot serve 2 masters. The law is absolute. My body trembled, caught between Adrian's blazing hold and Damien's shadowed pull. Both marks seared against my skin, demanding, clashing. I wanted to run, to scream, but the noble's circle only tightened. "Speak, boy," a counselor barked, his mask slipping down to reveal a sneer. "Which alpha will you bind to? Choose, or be stripped of your station entirely." Adrian's arm locked around me. His voice cut through the clamor like thunder. "He has chosen. He is mine." The golden mark flared, blinding in its intensity, pressing against my heart with suffocating certainty. But even as the nobles gasped at its brilliance, my crimson mark surged in rebellion. Heat flared along my throat, answering Damien's gaze across the hall. "No," Damien said, his voice a smooth blade. "You see, nobles of this court, your golden hero does not own him. The crimson bond will not be silenced." He stepped forward, shadows curling in his wake. The air thickened, the nobles flinching back from his presence, but not enough. Their voices rose higher, shriller. "It cannot be. Abomination. End this farce at once." My knees buckled under the pull of both marks. The heat was unbearable, the fire and shadow inside me clashing so violently it tore a cry from my throat. I clutched at my neck, pain flooding my veins. And then light exploded from me. Not golden, not crimson, but both. The marks burned so brightly they fused, casting the hall in a searing radiance of molten gold laced with blood-red fire. Nobles staggered back, shielding their eyes. Adrian froze, stunned. Even Damien's composure slipped, his mouth parting in shock. The voice that rang out wasn't mine alone. It was instinct, primal and ancient, echoing from the core of my being. "I am not ordinary. I am eminent." The hall fell silent. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Eminent impossible. A myth. They haven't existed in centuries. Adrian's grip on me faltered, or flickering in his gaze. "Eli." Damien's eyes burned, but not with arrogance this time, with something almost reverent. "So that's why." I staggered forward, panting, my body trembling as the light dimmed. My throat felt raw, but the truth had been unleashed. I wasn't just marked twice. I was something the world had forgotten, an Omega rare enough to bind more than one alpha. The nobles' outrage turned to fearful whispers. If they accepted this truth, their laws crumbled. That was when the laughter rang out. Low, cruel, cutting through the stunned silence. From the edge of the hall, a figure stepped forward, unmasked, his presence oily and suffocating. Chancellor Varro, the sly noble who had always lingered in Adrian's councils, his eyes glinting with malice. "So," Varro sneered, "the myths are true. An eminent Omega, strong enough to bind heroes and villains alike. No wonder you've been tearing each other apart. He was made to divide you." Adrian's jaw tightened. "Varro, what are you?" But before he could finish, shadows unlike Damien's erupted, chains of black magic snaring my wrists and dragging me to the ground. I screamed as my body was yanked toward Varro, crimson and golden bonds, both igniting in panic. "Eli!" Adrian roared, lunging forward. Damien snarled, his form blurring into smoke as he reached for me. But Varro's power surged, fueled by ancient spells. The floor split open, a rift yawning beneath me. His laughter echoed as he dragged me down into darkness. "Try and follow, heroes," Varro spat. "By the time you find him, he'll belong to me." The last thing I saw before the shadows swallowed me whole was Adrian and Damien, side by side for the first time, their fury united. The dungeon reeked of damp stone and blood. Chains bit into my wrists as Varro circled me like a vulture, his eyes gleaming. "You're wasted on them," he hissed. "Do you know what you are, boy? A weapon. With your bonds, kingdoms will fall. And I will wield you." I thrashed, but the restraints seared against my skin, suppressing both marks. My heart hammered, my body screaming for Adrian's fire, for Damien's shadow. And then I felt them. The bonds. Distant but unyielding. Tugging, burning, pulling me back toward them. The doors of the dungeon exploded inward. Adrian strode through the smoke, golden fire blazing around him, eyes wild with fury. Damien followed at his side, shadows writhing like serpents, his expression murderous. For once, they didn't glance at each other. They didn't fight. They moved as one. "Get your hands off him," Adrian snarled, his voice thunder. "You dare touch what's mine," Damien hissed, his shadows lashing forward. Vero's smile faltered. "Impossible." Adrian's blade of light met Damien's wave of darkness, not clashing, but intertwining. Fire and shadow, sun and night, cutting through Vero's magic like paper. He screamed as the power consumed him, his body vanishing into ash. And then they were at my side. Adrian broke the chains with a burst of golden heat, his hands catching mine. "I've got you." Damien swept in, his shadows wrapping around me like a shield. His hand cupped my cheek, uncharacteristically gentle. "You're safe now." The marks roared, blazing in unison. For the first time, they didn't clash, they harmonized. I collapsed into their arms, sobbing, overwhelmed by the sheer force of both bonds wrapping around me. Adrian pressed his forehead against mine. "I can't lose you. Not to him. Not to anyone." Damien's lips brushed my ear, his voice rough. "Then don't ask me to give him up either. Because I won't." They stared at each other over me, their gazes fierce, unyielding. But instead of hatred, something else burned there. Understanding. Adrian's jaw clenched. "If we fight, we'll break him." Damien's smirk was gone. His expression was solemn. "So we don't." I looked between them, my tears blurring their faces. I can't choose." "You don't have to," Adrian said, firm and certain. Damien's crimson eyes softened, his thumb brushing my skin. "You're too precious to lose, little one. We'll share you, whether the world accepts it or not." The bonds surged in agreement, flooding my body with light and shadow, heat and cool, two halves of a whole. The dungeon walls trembled, as though the world itself couldn't contain what had just been decided. And in that moment, as both alphas held me, claimed me, refused to let me go, I knew the story had shattered. This was no longer a tale of one destined mate. This was ours. The great hall was still fractured when dawn spilled across its marble floor. The nobles hadn't dispersed completely. Some lingered in corners, whispering beneath their jeweled masks, their voices sharp with disbelief. Yet none dared step closer to where I stood, caught between Adrian's golden fire and Damien's crimson shadow. Their marks pulsed across my skin in perfect unison, a rhythm the world had told me was impossible. And yet here I was living proof. The High Chancellor's voice cracked like a whip through the air. "This is unlawful. Omegas cannot bind with more than one alpha. Our traditions demand a choice." I flinched at the force of his words, but Adrian stepped forward, shielding me. The gold in his eyes blazed, his voice carrying like thunder. "Tradition does not eclipse truth. He is eminent. You all saw it. His bonds are not a scandal, they are destiny." A ripple of unrest traveled through the chamber. Some nobles whispered prayers, others spat curses, but none could deny the mark that blazed across my skin. Damien's laugh was low, edged with danger. "How quickly you scurry behind rules when reality frightens you. He is not yours to cage. He belongs to no law, only to us." That word, us, hung in the air, sharp as a dagger, undeniable as dawn. The counselor who had barked at me days earlier now quivered, tugging at his robes. But such a bond cannot survive. It will destroy him. I found my own voice then, quiet but clear. "It hasn't destroyed me. It saved me." The hall stilled. My hands trembled, but I didn't hide them. The marks glowed openly on my skin, gold and crimson, not warring but woven. Adrian's fire, Damien's shadow, they don't tear me apart. They make me whole. For the first time, I am not bound by fear or someone else's story. I am eminent. And if you cannot accept that, then your laws are already broken. Gasps scattered across the chamber. No one spoke. For once, the nobles had no script to follow. The silence stretched until the High Chancellor bowed his head, the weight of inevitability pressing his shoulders. "So be it. The court will recognize this anomaly. You will not be condemned. But know this, your union will shake kingdoms." "Let them shake," Adrian said firmly, drawing me close. Damien's smirk softened, his hand brushing my shoulder. "Kingdoms fall. Bonds endure." The council broke apart in chaos, but I no longer cared. For the first time since waking in this cursed story, the weight had lifted. The future was uncertain, scandalous, and dangerous, but it was ours. That night, the ballroom stood empty, stripped of masks and lies. Adrian, Damien, and I lingered in the garden, the moonlight casting silver across the roses. My knees felt weak as the quiet pressed in, but the warmth of Adrian's hand in mine steadied me. Damien lounged against the fountain, crimson eyes catching the moonlight, uncharacteristically silent. "You've changed everything," Adrian murmured, his gaze heavy with awe. "Not just for us. For history itself. Do you regret it?" I asked softly. His grip tightened. "Never." Damien pushed off the fountain, stepping closer, his shadow brushing against mine. "I lived years thinking myself cursed, destined only to destroy. But then you came along, and now, even I believe in fate." The bonds pulsed at their words, my body humming with their resonance. For so long, I had feared being torn apart. Yet now, the fire and shadow inside me didn't clash. They sang together, harmonizing in my chest. Tears stung my eyes. I thought I had to choose, that I'd lose one of you no matter what I did. Adrian lifted my hand to his lips, pressing a kiss against my knuckles. "You don't." Damien's fingers brushed a tear from my cheek, his voice unusually tender. "You never did." And in that moment, I believed them. Later, as exhaustion dragged me under, I lay nestled between them in Adrian's chamber. His arm curved protectively around my waist, Damien's hand resting lightly at my hip. Their breaths synced with mine, the marks glowing faintly, proof of what we had forged. The story I'd fallen into had demanded I play a role, demanded I follow its script. But I had broken it. I wasn't just the Omega meant for the hero. I wasn't just the villain's stolen prize. I was eminent. I was gold and crimson, fire and shadow, hero and villain. I was theirs, and they were mine. The world would resist, kingdoms would rage, enemies would rise again. But as the night wrapped us in quiet peace, one truth burned brighter than any threat. Our story had only just begun. The sun was rising when I stirred awake. For the first time in weeks, no weight pressed down on me. No noble screaming, no chains biting into my wrists, no fear clawing at my chest. Just warmth, solid, unyielding, surrounding me on both sides. Adrian's steady heartbeat thudded against my ear, his arms still draped around me even in sleep. Damien's hand rested lightly against my waist, deceptively casual, but I knew he would wake the instant I so much as twitched. I smiled into the pillow. They were both impossibly different, impossibly stubborn, and yet impossibly mine. When I slipped out of bed, trying not to disturb them, Damien's voice drifted lazily through the half-light. "Sneaking away so soon, little one?" I turned, flushing. I wasn't sneaking. Adrian sat up with a groggy rumble, running a hand through his golden hair. "You were." His sleepy glare softened almost immediately. "Don't run from us, Eli. Not ever again." I shook my head, laughter bubbling in my chest. I wasn't running. I was just looking. I crossed to the window, pulling aside the curtain. Beyond the glass, the garden stretched wide and green, dew catching the morning light. Nobles might still whisper, laws might still tremble, but for the first time, I saw a world where I belonged. A rare Omega, an eminent, not a pawn in someone else's tale, but the author of my own. Damien came to stand beside me, his presence dark and warm, his crimson eyes reflecting the sunrise. "The world will keep testing us," he said softly, almost to himself. "But let them. They've never faced the three of us together." Adrian joined us, his hand finding mine. His grip was firm, reassuring. "Whatever comes, we'll protect you. Always." For once, I didn't argue. I didn't say I didn't need protecting. Because I knew this wasn't just about shields and battles. It was about love. Slowly, I turned, sliding one hand into Adrian's, the other brushing Damien's knuckles. The marks pulsed, warm and steady, no longer clashing but beating in harmony with my heart. My voice was quiet, but it carried in the golden morning light. "This isn't the story I thought I was stepping into." Adrian's lips brushed my temple. "It's better." Damien's smile curved like shadow and moonlight. "It's ours." And with the dawn breaking over us, I finally believed it.